So, this podcast is with Ruth Brown, and it's everything that I thought she was going to be when I first met her. I think this podcast is about humanising people and understanding that leaders in business are also human. We make mistakes, we grow, we learn, we work on ourselves to be the best person we possibly can. If you're in this state of mind in a business right now, this is the podcast for you. I took a lot away from this. I was extremely nervous going into this podcast. You can probably tell at the very beginning. I have always admired Ruth from afar, and getting to know her on a personal level and having conversation today was everything I needed. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. I'm looking forward to hearing the feedback. Thanks for listening. So, I don't know how to start this podcast. I've not got to know this lady very well, but anytime I have met her, I've just been in awe of her presence. And I find that I feel like, I don't know the right words to say, but I've just been in awe of her presence and everything that I've ever heard from her and seen has, push that knowledge, and I've just felt like it's been, I don't know the right terminology is, but yeah, I've been correct about what I thought about you. So if you wouldn't mind, please, would you just introduce yourself and what you do for a job?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Ruth Brown. I'm now the Chief Operating Officer for Homestead in the UK.
Thank you. Okay. So why did that sketchy little intro there, Ruth? I think that every time I see you, I don't mean this in a bad way, but I just in this, and it's in a good way. I love the way you. I don't know if you know this, but when you enter a room or you enter a building or anywhere, you just have this presence around you is quite cool. I don't know if you've ever been told that before.
Not really, so I'll take that every day of the week, Ryan.
But maybe it's just me because I've been in franchising quite a while, but when I joined the BFA, obviously you start to understand who's been doing it a while, who does the talking and what they do, and then I just admire what you've done because you've been doing it for so long.
Thank you.
There's quite a few things I wanted to talk about, but there's one thing I did hear about you, and I believe you do a bit of running.
I do, yeah.
How much running do you do?
So I ran the London Half Marathon last year, which was a big achievement for me. So before, probably about 2 or 3 years ago, I've always trained, I've always gone to the gym. My mum and dad bought me a David Lloyd gym pass when I was 20, and I've never really looked back, but I probably only ever really did 10 or 15 minutes max on the treadmill. So last year I kind of said I'm going to do the London Half Marathon and raise money for Homestead charities. And I had to learn to love it, and now I do. So literally, if I can't do at least a 25-minute run in the morning, I don't feel right for the day. It's my moment to give me some time to really clear my head. Quite often I'm planning my day or thinking about certain presentations or certain things that I need to get my headspace around. So
I love it. So I'm exactly the same, and I don't get it every day. Sometimes I'll do it at night. I used to put a rule in, it had to be in the morning, then I changed it and took the rule out, and now I do it whenever I want. So this might be a bit dark and a bit deep straight away, but I feel like I forgive people as well. I don't know if that helps. I don't know if you understand that, but like you let people off, don't you? And a bit of empathy comes in when you go for a run.
So I think forgiving people, replaying conversations, how I want to develop people, everything comes into my mind, and it's not really in any order. And then I'll look down at the clock or I'll look at my watch and I'm like, I could be running for 30 minutes there. Feel really good, and then kind of like I feel like set for the day. So it's more headspace for me as opposed to
it's exactly the same for me. It's love that.
I don't know whether you know, but you inspired me to get an ice bath.
No.
Yeah. Because I think it was on LinkedIn that you were doing running, and then you were also started doing ice baths. and also
Okay.
Kay as well. Yeah. So my husband and I got an ice bath this summer.
Yeah.
I've nailed, I think, 11 minutes so far.
Yeah, good. It's a game changer, isn't it?
It is pretty mad though.
Yeah.
And like my little girl's trying to get in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I don't want to move.
I love that. Does your husband like it as well?
He does, yeah. So he's just had spine surgery, so it's really good for his back as well. Yeah.
Is,
So we do. Yeah, it's really good.
No way.
So
I'm so buzzing. Yeah. Again, though, obviously, I do suffer with depression, and I'm working through that. And it's something that's a daily thing in my life. I'm actually booked in for myself. I've got a doctor's appointment tomorrow, and I'm going to go for a full assessment on other things as well. But I like it. It makes me a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think cold water therapy is the go-to for switching off. Just that immediate 4 minutes of you can't think about anything else. And I think people think you're mad until you try it, and then when you try it, you're like, actually, I completely understand this now.
Yeah. The maddest thing for me was, other than trying not to move, was when I got out, like how warm I felt. It was the most surreal experience. I just felt so warm. When I got a shower, and I just, it was. So I do it after a run, basically. As soon as I've had a run, I kind of try and get into the ice bath. Yeah. We need to do it more now. The weather's got a bit.
Well, is it one you pour water in yourself and put ice in yourself?
Yeah, it's like it's one of those tin ones. Yeah, we put ice in. Yeah.
Oh, this winter would be amazing. Just leave it out all winter. Yeah. Put some chlorine in it, or some. What's the other one, Kay? Is it chlorine and something?
We've got chlorine, and we've got like a little thing that floats around in it to tell you whether.
Yeah, there's another chemical you can put in it that will. It's like chlorine, but doesn't smell as bad, and that works. But just this winter, from like October, just leave it out. It'd be freezing. I've bought a refrigerated one now, but I had a barrel for years. Yeah. And then getting the winter, smashing it, and getting into the best.
Do you know my little girl who's 5 actually did it as well?
Oh,
I was so impressed with her. Like, she didn't go quite as long as us, but she's.
I went to Wim Hof's house. It was 2 years ago, and Wim Hof, the guy who brought it to the limelight of the country. And there was 2 kids there, but both unfortunately have cancer.
Right, okay.
And the mum was from Germany. She'd flown over because she'd heard about him. And they managed to reduce the tumours by raising white blood cells. And
no way.
Yeah, and the kids got really better. And I met them, like, just breaks your heart, that sort of stuff. But it's nice, isn't there? There's obviously a mental aspect to it, the physical aspect to it. And I think like there's a way of treating yourself and making yourself feel better. So the whole thing's good. I know that at the minute it's a bit of a fashion thing, but
it is, yeah.
I'm cool with it. Like, I'm happy that it's in. I'm so glad we've covered them 2 things, because one of the things I wanted to ask you is, obviously, I'm going to go back for your career history in a minute, because I've seen that you basically lived in franchising.
I have, yeah.
I think you finished uni and went straight into franchising.
Yeah.
I think franchising is quite stressful. I feel like being in business is stressful, and me and you both know business owners, and it is stressful. But I feel like there's just that little echelons of extra stress, because you're running a business yourself, but then also trying to help people cope with running a business. And there's not just cash flow things and managing teams, it's the emotional part of it. I was going to ask, and you've already kind of covered it, is like, how do you deal with that and for so long? And it's that, isn't it, that you definitely need that maintain mental health or well-being.
Do you know what, Ryan? I think it comes down to what you enjoy and like. So I just love people in every way, shape or form. So if you love people and then you love making a difference, whether it's Tezlom or Home Instead, when somebody comes to you and says, I've got this dream to run my own business, can you help me? Yeah. And you give them a model and guidance and support, and then 3 years later you see them and they've got a business. Yeah. I just get my buzz from that. Yeah. And then so when you're struggling, or you've got a franchisee that you need to support more maybe, or whatever, I think I just hold on to that, and just know the actual outcome of what the actual quality franchising model can do. Yeah.
It's that bit of work that I kind of, you and me probably do the same sort of thing, is how am I going to cope and coach and mentor that person, and then I've got to put myself through my well-being and looking after me so that I can do the right thing for them.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then try and coach them on that as well at the same time.
And your team, I think the time when I don't look after myself and don't give myself the opportunity to run or just eat well, and I go in with myself. I know that I'm not giving the best to my team, and then also, that then can translate to the network and then clients, doesn't it? So I kind of have to look after myself and give my time in the morning to train and run and think. And quite often I'll say in a meeting, I was thinking on the treadmill this morning, because that allows me to be able to really have that clarity.
Do you spot the awareness in yourself, or you must do, when you're not doing things? I do. I know I'm like, I am projecting today and I need to stop.
I think yes, but I also have a tribe around me.
Yeah.
Who
could you give me a scale, an idea what type of, how big the business that you kind of are responsible of?
Right, okay, so
that'll help people. If people don't know who you are and what you do, it's kind of important for them to understand.
Okay, so I'm the Chief Operating Officer of a organisation that's got 256 franchise territories trading, but we've got about 350 individuals who are franchisees that we support every day. Wow. We came to the UK in 2005, so we're part of a US global organisation. And I think when I joined in 2010, there was probably about 5 of us in the office and about 20 owners. So I've been on, I call it the purple bus ever since, and I haven't
Has
looked
it always
back.
been that place in Warrington that I've been to?
It originally started in Chester, and then they moved to Warrington, but the building opposite. So when I first started, we were literally in a room above a very nice coffee shop called the Hollies. I've just seen it kind of go from there, really.
Wow, it's mad that, isn't it? How big is your team that work under you now directly?
So there's 70 of us at National Office now. Everything from, and that doesn't include the 2 company-owned offices that we've got, but that's everything from IT through to marketing. We've got our own brand dev team, franchise development team, business development team, etc. And that's that structure's changed over time as we've grown the franchise network. Yeah.
So how did go on? Let's. I'm gonna go right back. Okay. So you told me you were born in Warrington.
I was born in Warrington, born and bred.
So what was family like? What was mum and dad like?
So I grew up on a small holding. Okay. My dad was a fireman. My mum was a secretary at the school that I went to, which wasn't great, obviously. No. Your mum working at the school.
Any brothers, sisters?
I've got 2 older brothers, also left a legacy for me to follow. And school, I had a happy childhood. My dad's ace. He's been a massive figure for me throughout my whole life. We had a few sheep, a few goats, horses. And that was opposite the school, which was quite interesting. We had chickens. So there was quite often a time when I'd be sat in a German lesson and a sheep would walk past. And then my mum would walk past with a wellies on and going, is that your mum, Ruth? I'd be like, no, that's so embarrassing. But that's the kind of life I had. And then, I went to Manchester to live when I went to uni. I wanted to be a teacher, actually, Ryan. This was never meant to be my career. So I finished.
Follow mum's steps, I guess. Mum's.
Well, she was the secretary in the school, so she wasn't the actual teacher. But it was more because I just loved kids, actually. I wanted to be like a reception class teacher. I was so young and naive. I left my degree and I was like, I'm going to go and do my PGCE. Went for the assessment day and I was sat in this room of people who had already had careers and come back to do teaching, and I was like, I have no chance to get on this course. I didn't prepare for it, etc. And that was like one of my sliding door moments, because I didn't get on, but I wanted to buy a house. I was with a partner at the time. So in them days, you used to get a newspaper, Warrington Guardian, and I literally circled everything that I thought I could go for. I was working for a company called the Student Support Centre at the time, which was a franchisee based in Appleton, which was selling.
Did you know about franchising?
Didn't have a clue. I had no clue. I was just basically selling tuition to to schools for them to then sell to
Would you say you're a salesperson through and through?
That's my relationship person. And then weirdly, I applied for a job as an accounts clerk. Sent it off and didn't think anything of it. And about 2 months later, I had a phone call and they said, laughing on the phone, he said, "You've applied for this job, that's an accounts clerk, but we don't think you're qualified for that." And I was like, yeah, I can believe that. But we've got this role, franchise assistant. We're just about to start franchising our business. Will you come and talk to us? So I literally had this meeting. It was office stationery cartridges, stuff like that. And my interview was, one of the questions was, do you know what a franchise is? And I said, McDonald's is a franchise, isn't it? And tried to give like a bit of an answer. And that was my start of the journey into franchising. Built myself up to franchise recruitment, then left there and ended up at Thornton's. And that generally was a sliding door moment, that first part of my career, because that's where I met my husband, who I'm now married to.
So just scale back time. So how old were you when you started?
So I left school at university at 21 and I started in franchising at 22. So I've been doing it 21 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a long, it's good.
Doesn't feel like that though. It feels like I've literally blinked. And
yeah.
And do you know what, Ryan? I feel like I've worked for, apart from the Student Support Centre, which was a franchisee that I didn't really know, each part of my career, so the first place I worked for, then Thornton's, was building me up to where I am now. And when I got to where I am now, when I first met Trevor, who obviously set up Home Instead in the UK, I literally felt like I came home. I was like, this is everything I've been looking for. I didn't realise it when I went to interview with him. No. But when I sat down and met him, I was like, this is where I want to be, you know. And there's like weird things happen, like his dad and my gran worked together. Yeah. He grew up on the road that was the top of the road where I grew up. You know, it was all that kind of weird stuff. So, you know, it was meant to be. And it was genuinely meant to be. Yeah.
He's on the podcast a few weeks, Trevor.
Is he?
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Yeah. I've only met him through Rise, but no. And then I found out who he was, and I was like, oh, I'm getting on the podcast. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
So, 22 went to, where was the first place?
So it was called Laser Tech. So they made, and it was then rebranded as Office King. So they made like cartridges, stationery, and the franchise was a van-based franchise. And I guess one of the things that, I'm on the BFA board. Yeah. The reason why I did that was I learned how not to do franchising there, and that wasn't through malicious practice. That was through lack of education of what a good franchise looks like. Making sure that you choose the right franchisee to start with.
It's a big lesson, that one, isn't it?
Making sure that you've got the right model and the right support, etc. So, I'd say 85% of that franchise network was successful, but there was some elements that wasn't. So I learned a lot there. And you know what? It was all about relationships more often than not. Then I went obviously to Thornton's, which was a completely different
how did that happen? How did that go about?
So Justin doesn't know this, I don't think, but his marketing manager, who's my friend at my previous role, was looking to get chocolate for a conference we were doing, and she was on their website and it had an advertisement for franchise recruitment, and she said, do you know about this? So just randomly applied. I went to Alfreton and they had like a huge like manufacturing site there. Watson's like, there's no chance I'm going to get this. And then I was up against like quite professional guys. I was 26 then, still kind of quite young in terms of my career. The next thing I'm working in the world of chocolate, which I learned a lot.
For 26 to get that job, though, really. Yeah. Must have impressed them.
Learned a lot there. Like learned a lot about retail, learned a lot about franchising, learned a lot about being part of a PLC.
It's a different ball game, isn't it? Completely. Different ball game. Would you say it was a good franchise?
I would say it was a good franchise. We opened about 80 stores when I was there. So not a lot of people knew that Thornton's had a franchise arm. So they had the retail and then they had the franchise, which sometimes were a coffee shop. So then they had like commercial and also their website. I think franchising's franchising to me. It comes down to, have you got the right model? Can the franchisee be super successful? And if they're super successful, you can be super successful. So it started to, I guess, change a little bit when they started to really grow their commercial arm. So they started to be in Sainsbury's and Woolworths and things like that. And that was the point in time that I decided to exit because because it was also like, it was difficult for the franchisee to really compete against that. So there's still some franchises going, it's good to see. But Thornton's is not what it was.
No, I don't know anything enough about them. What I'm interested, so at 26 years old, you went on a journey and you went from not knowing what you're doing and then being involved in 80 store openings. You must have learned some massive lessons in there.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah. Can you pinpoint anything that would might be without jeopardising your career?
I guess it's quite boring stuff, really, like how to choose the right location, how to apply for air conditioning. But I think the big lesson I probably learnt there, which was the lesson I was building from the previous one, is franchising is all about managing expectations. Yeah. So, if you mismanage an expectation of somebody that's about to invest their money in, the foundations of your relationship or your partnerships.
Yeah, I've been through that. I feel like I joined Tezlom because my dad got poorly, and I'd just set up an education recruitment agency. I'd just done my first franchise, mum and dad's help. And then I joined, and I realised there was some franchises that shouldn't have been sole franchises. Mm-hmm. And we had to end a couple of them. We did it amicably. Yeah. We worked out some really good deals for them because it was only the right thing to do. And I let the consultant who was selling franchises go. Yeah. And I think anyone who's brave enough to say would learn that in franchising, that it's not just take the money for the franchise and go and spend it. It's you're green it for a long time, 5 years, 10 years is ours. Forget about that money train to shoot at the beginning. Is this going to work? Do they fit the brand? Are they going to be successful? Can we work together? Have they got the skills to do it? Because if they haven't got the skills to do it, it's only going to cause you problems later down the line. You're going to have to deal with that.
And it's a long time, isn't it? Right?
Yeah. It's mad, isn't it? Because you get caught up in the heat of the moment of doing the sale, which we all love as salespeople. Yeah. But you kind of have to cancel that out because I've got all this work to do afterwards. And I have to forget about that. And I concentrate now on, can I see that person, individual, being successful in 12 months' time and turn over 400 grand?
Do you know one of the things, and I've told this to Imi and Luke and whoever is like doing that franchise recruitment role, is like, I've always put my mum and dad on the other side of the table and thought, would I want my mum and dad to do this? Would I want them to invest their life savings? Is it genuine? Is it authentic? And am I being completely transparent with the realities of the business model? And then how they respond to that is really important, isn't it? So I suppose one of the things that I changed was the mindset of sales to recruitment. So I'm just educating people as best as I possibly can about this amazing opportunity that I completely believe and buy in, but it's only right for the right people. If they don't fit, it's too hard. It's too hard for them. If it doesn't come from here, they're dealing with care, then that's really difficult. And I often say to them, there's other opportunities that you can invest the same money in that you probably would be more successful. Because
if you're not passionate about what you do,
if you're not passionate about home instead or the care offering or the model or whatever we do, and it doesn't come from it isn't right, And
I've said it with the podcast with Tim, is like, even if the profit margin is 500%, so you make millions of pounds off it, eventually, if you're not passionate about it, it won't work. You'll get fed up with it. You'll fall out with it. You'll not treat it with the respect it needs. So if you're going to do it, and we have competitors. I know the domiciliary market have competitors. We all have competitors that sell franchises, but we're all friends with each other because we know it's down to that individual who's buying the franchise if they suit the brand.
100%.
It's not. So it doesn't matter.
I know a Home Instead franchisee versus a Right at Home franchisee versus a Bluebird franchisee, and you quite often see a person that we've met and they've bought one of the competitors and like, actually that makes sense, and vice versa, so and there's enough room for everybody.
I went through such an emotional journey with that, Ruth.
Did you?
Yeah, I really did. Like, because when I joined the BFA and started doing the exports, after we rebranded and we started doing them, I was like getting upset because I was like, they're going to be a competitor of us with recruitment franchises. And then I kind of realised took me a little bit of time to think, actually no, because if they go to that brand, it's
right for them.
Yeah, it's right for
100%.
them. It takes a bit of learning. I thought it took me a little bit of learning.
Yeah, you still get a little bit like, oh, why not? But it's natural, isn't it?
Yeah, it recently happened to me, and it was. And then afterwards, I sat back and I was like, no, that was the right decision for them, and they don't suit us, and that's okay.
Yeah. Do you know one of the things, and you feel it when you walk in here, and I hope when you came to Home Instead you felt it, is like our culture is so special. Yeah. And when someone doesn't fit that, they stick out. Yeah. And I think also it then ends up being a massive distraction. So,
you end up pouring loads of energy
things
into
happen it. Absolutely. And things happen, and that's whether it's a member of staff or whether a franchisee or whatever. So, it ends up being more energy than it the return on.
Isn't it weird, right? I talk about energy all the time, and I can tell you do, and all that. But when you go into your career and your life and you're talking about franchising and business and stuff, you don't think about any of that at the time. But it's only when you've been doing it a little while, I've been doing it 10 years or something, 12 years, you realise that's what it's actually all about. How much am I going to spend with this person delivering what I want out of them, gushing absolute loads of energy into them, trying to get them to do the thing that I want them to do. And fundamentally, they're not going to do it. And I've done the wrong thing by putting them in that position. It happens with staff, doesn't it? It's so hard.
Yeah.
It's a massive learning curve.
Yeah. And it's then about being honest, isn't it? About where you're both at in that situation.
Yeah, leadership in it.
Yeah.
It's a tough one, that.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of a funny one this week. I had a little bit of a funny breakdown about it this week, and it was when you're leading a team or giving direction to your team members, sometimes I'm desperately trying to work on communication, because if you don't communicate it the right way, you can really upset them or do it the wrong way.
Yeah.
And it's a tough one, that, isn't it? Like, I don't know if you've ever experienced it yourself, but trying to deliver stuff to your team, I live in my head full of imagination and creation. I deliver something to someone and I'm like, oh shit, I've definitely said the wrong thing. This has not gone the right way. And you spend a day trying to unravel it all and sort it all out.
So it's also things you don't say, isn't it? Yeah. I remember someone saying to me, "You've not told me well done," and this was a peer to me. Yeah. And I was like, "Have I not? Okay." And then it's like conscious then, like I need to make sure that I'm recognising my staff. And then I had one member of staff come to me the other day and she went, "You don't need to keep saying thank you. It doesn't motivate me." And her peer said, "Keep saying thank you to me, I like it." So it's always like how you kind of like don't say stuff as well. And it's quite interesting. One of the things we talk a bit about as well is just, you mentioned it before, is like how you show up at work. Yeah. If I open my door, if I can put the door stop in for people know, or what's my body language. And I think I'm trying to learn that, it's about the shadow that you cast, isn't it?
I love that saying.
So that's stolen from Trevor, so you should ask him about that.
Yeah. When I am having a bad day, and it can happen quite regularly sometimes, I'll shut my office door, and Kay and Gemma obviously report to me directly all the time, and we speak every single day about everything that's going on, and they're like, "Ryan, you changed the tone of the business."
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
You change the tone. So that running piece and that looking after yourself and cold water shower.
And it's simple things like I never swap. So we have a key fob. You kind of go through the door, you go up the stairs and into your office. I never do that. I always go through reception, say hi to the guys in reception, make sure that I always go in every room to say hi. Even if I'm inside, I've just had a really bad day trying to get my little girl to school or whatever, I try and put my game face on. Sometimes I don't always be successful at it. I think one day last week or a couple of weeks ago, someone said, "Is everything okay with Ruth? He doesn't see herself." And that's because I'm always trying to give positive energy out. Yeah. And then you kind of check yourself, don't you? And you go, right, okay. You just get that balance. And quite often it's nothing to do with work. It's just like the morning that you've had, which has been quite stressful. So
trying to run around, get the kids ready for school.
Yeah.
Not kill your husband or wife.
Yeah.
You mentioned, who's your husband?
Justin. Yeah.
How did that happen? What that?
So literally sliding door moment. So what I didn't quite tell you was like how I ended up in front of Justin at that interview at my first job. So Justin
interviewed you and you ended up being your husband?
Yeah.
That sounds suspicious, Ruth. I'm not gonna
lie. I know. So the weirdest thing, and whether you believe it, I talked about working. I'm red now. Working for Trevor and meant to be. So when I told you that story about the newspaper and I said yes to the interview. Yeah. So the first time I went to try and go to the interview, I couldn't find it.
Right.
So I just thought, never mind, I'll go home. I've got a job. I wasn't that bothered about it. Yeah. He phoned up and he goes, "Where are you?" And I said, "I just couldn't find it." So I came back home. He said, "Well, do you want to come in now and meet me?" Yeah. So I was like, right, okay. So I went and he deliberately kept me waiting at the interview. Yeah. And then we had the interview. And then he then offered me the job. And I said, "Can I think about it? I'm about to go to, I think I was going to Tenerife with my mates. Can I think about it? I'm going to go to Tenerife with my mates. I'll come back to you." And he was just like, right, okay. So I literally played hard to get the whole time.
No way.
But it was weird, Ryan. Something was pulling me to go and work there. So yeah, and then obviously met my husband. I was in a relationship at the time, and he was married. But life changed, and
Yeah.
and then we ended up together when I was at Thornton's actually. So
Like, I'm lost track. I'm going to go over this and you're going to batter me. So Justin worked at home instead, or this at Thornton's?
no, the first place, the Printer Cartridge's place.
Printer Cartridge place. You went there to Printer Cartridge place, met him.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll leave that there. So, what's Justin do now?
So he's a sales director for a company. Do you know that all these like lovely garden buildings that people have?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so he sells them basically.
I bet he's been having it away, hasn't it, since COVID?
It's been a bit quieter this year, but yeah. So he works for the manufacturer. So like we're dealing with the dealers that would then sell it, like all your garden centres and stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, nice.
And how old's your little girl?
She's 5, soon to be 6 on Saturday.
Nice.
She lost a front tooth last night. Just like my baby's going.
I'm going to delve in here a little bit. Mm-hmm. How have you coped being a mum and having your job? Because I bet you travel a bit, don't you?
I do. So I am genuinely the sandwich generation.
Yeah.
So I've got Justin, who is ace, and you know he's a modern day husband, so he does the school runs and stuff like that. So I've got 2 step kids. They are now 21 and 19, and they're like our mates. You know, they're ace. But sadly, I've got a mum that's got stage 6 vascular dementia, which is really tough to deal with, particularly when you're also the recipient of the service that you provide. Yeah. So I've got an amazing franchise office that looks after my mum and dad.
Are they in Warrington?
They're in Knutsford.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's the juggle at the moment, and has been for a number of years. Yeah.
She's been poorly for quite a few years.
So she was diagnosed during COVID. So the reason why I'm actually at home instead is like everyone's got a personal story when it comes to care, I think. So I ended up meeting Trevor and really not liking social care, Ryan, to be honest with you, because my granddad had such a bad experience.
What happened with your granddad? Is this your grandma's?
My mum's mum. No, my mum's mum.
Mum's mum.
So very sad. My dad had a stroke. My mum became his carer, and I took the responsibility of looking after my gran when I was at Thornton's. Yeah. And was thrown into the world of social care with a bit of a shock. I had no clue. You never know, do you? You know, she was 94.
And it's tough as well.
Yeah, it's really tough. And she was like, we were so close. We grew up next door. She lived next door to us. So she was like my second mum, really. She had local authority contracted care. Yeah. I'd turn up and they said he'd been visiting and they hadn't. Yeah. They were feeding her like tinned meat, just microwaved. It was awful. And I was like, this is wrong. So I started to look for another job so I could be at home more with my gran when I was at Thornton's. I was doing like 4,000 miles a month with Thornton's because it was retail and you're on the road all the time. And Justin will come back into the story in a minute, but like
I need to talk about 4,000 hours a month as well.
4,000 miles a month is mad. I think that was against the law. Basically, do you know Cafe to You?
Yeah.
I got a job with them.
Oh, did you?
Didn't join because fate again. Shirley sent me a job description for Home Instead.
Who's Shirley?
She is a recruitment consultant.
Shirley. Yeah.
And I don't know whether she knew that she'd left the name on by accident or not. So I just checked. Yeah. And I just said, I'm not going anywhere near Home Instead because it's care and what's going on with my gran. It's like, no way, I'm going over to this other job. And Justin said, I think this is for you. So what I've not mentioned is I was a Samaritan for a long time. Right. So a trained Samaritan, so I was volunteering.
Why?
I just felt like I wanted to give to people. That's like I wanted to do it in the evenings and I've always felt, I've always felt like I wanted to give in some way.
I get that.
Yeah.
I'm a trustee. And I don't know why, but I got asked to do a trustee and I was like, I don't know if I can do it.
Do you know, it was one of the best experiences because I learned so much and actually I learned how to cherish life. So anyway, so Justin said, this job is for you. You need to go and see and meet about and talk about it. And he forced me to go and meet Trevor. And I sat down with Trevor and he told me exactly the model. And I was just like, oh my God, I think I'm in love with this.
Yeah.
It's like our minimums.
Mate, that's the perfect
continuity, introductions to clients, you know, everything that my gran hadn't had.
Yeah.
And she was just about to go into a home. I was just like, I need to be part of this journey.
Yeah.
And that was it really. And then I just joined them, and I was franchise recruitment manager, and spent most of my time talking to people to get on the purple bus, basically.
Yeah, I'm not being funny with you, but you can't tie that any better, can you?
No.
Like,
No.
Warrington, head office.
His dad worked with my gran, which was my inspiration.
Oh my
Do you know what I mean? It was like it was meant to be.
Home instead, like
and like I said, those first 2 parts of my career actually built me to be at home instead.
Yeah, it taught you a few things, didn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Amazing. It's tough, isn't it, dementia?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my dad died last year, the year before, dementia. It's tough. It's the first time I've really had it in my hand, and it's an unusual place to be. I'm kind of glad he passed away in the end, because it was just too much to handle. And Mum was looking after Dad, and we were running the business, and she just came into the office one day and broke down to her knees and just said, "I can't look after your Dad anymore." Because the amount of times I had to go to Mum's house and pick Dad up off the floor because she couldn't pick him up anymore and he couldn't walk. It was so hard. And but yeah, it's not until you've had it, I think, firsthand, even though I've been working in the services for years, until you've had it firsthand that you really realise how tough it is.
It's cruel. I think my gran experience, and then my auntie Dot had home instead, who was a sister, so I managed to make things right there with my gran. But when somebody's in the 90s and they've had a good life, it's very different to my mum's only early 70s.
Yeah, my dad was.
And it's like care then, the impact on the family is just it's harsh. It's one of the cruelest things I've ever been part of. Yeah, you know, she's not my mum anymore, but she's there. You know,
fucking horrible, isn't it?
Yeah. And we're at the stage now, Ryan, where your mum was. My dad's knackered, shattered with it, and I'm just,
coming to terms with it.
Yeah. So it's really sad that, a bit like you, my mum won't accept any personal care for anybody other than me. I'm a little girl, so we do all the personal care, which is probably one of the toughest things, but one of the most privileged things to do.
100%.
Yeah. And I also think the place where I am, the Kathy, we call the Kathy, the family member that's going through this, enables me to really connect with what's happening in our business. Yeah. So it's tough and it's horrible. And like the last couple of years, in terms of juggling stuff, has been really difficult. Yeah. But I feel quite privileged. And I feel really, really proud that I work for Home Instead.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Yeah. And you know, when I said to my family, we need to get care in. My mum was so resistant at the beginning; she didn't even accept that she had dementia. So that's really difficult. And I said to my brother, I don't want us to say just go with Home Instead because it's me and where I am and who I am. I need you to look at other options. He chose Home Instead because I took him to meet the franchisees. But you know what? I put my whole belief system into that care package because I was like, if this isn't what I've been talking about for the last 10 years, what does that actually mean? Yeah. And the day my dad walked in and said, those girls are ace, they're part of the family.
And keep my job.
Yeah. I can continue doing what I'm doing. And they have, and they've taken we talk about taking the pressure of like, I'm here because I've just phoned my dad and Nikki's been in, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so I can just have that release. Still feel guilty, I still feel guilty that I'm not doing enough for them. But yeah, it's, this is the first time I've talked at length, Ryan, about this to anybody outside of Home Instead. So.
Thank you for sharing, it's important. Kind of me too, to be honest with you, a little bit. It's
makes it personal.
It's a reality of life, Ruth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dad got cancer 12 years ago, and then that's how I joined the business. And then he's never been back in the business since. But I have to remember the dad from like 15 years ago who taught me about franchising. Who would never. See, I knew about franchise agreements and selling franchises when I was like 19. So my mum and dad have been in franchising since the 90s. So I've grown up in franchise businesses,
Yeah,
and I've been in and out of trouble with mum and dad for in the businesses they've had. Girlfriends, ridiculous. But yeah, so I was born into franchising, and I just what my spirit's the same as yours, is meeting a family who are looking to change their direction because of whatever reason they need to. At least the most recent one we've just sold in Wandsworth, the Thackers. Her mum does security for an airport, and she just works ridiculous shifts. But could you imagine her as a care coordinator?
Yeah.
Like, she'll just be amazing at it. And she's got a massive team, and then her dad's a salesman and he's a charmer as well, and it's really good, and they just work really well together. That is what I do this for. I did recruitment for years when we first started, and I'm really good at that, and I love meeting the carers. And when my dad was so poorly, we got one of the carers, Jane. She used to go and look after dad, and we just paid her privately. But then he just got to a point where it was just untenable for mum, and we had to put him to a home. It was one of the homes we supply, and they're still going now, and I know the manager really well. But yeah, it's a big reality check for me, and a big lesson learned. But yeah, I feel very sorry for it. It's very difficult.
I think that's where we are right now. Ryan is like, my dad can't cope anymore, and so
having that honest conversation with him.
He said it. You know, he's knackered. So sadly, so I've got an older brother who is like super ace, but all my brothers live away. So you know, I'm the one with the day-to-day responsibility. And so
my mum was the same. Her brothers live in Scotland. Yeah. It's a unfortunately, I don't want to be super sexist here, but I think it kind of falls on the women sometimes.
It does, and I think they don't. It's not like they don't help. It's just a different type of help.
I think women. I don't want to do this, but it does naturally kind of, women just are more caring and have more empathy and patience than men. Yeah. Some men, I'm the same as your husband, very hands-on. Took my kids to nursery all the time and do the school run and stuff. But I just think sometimes women just deal with things better than men. They definitely have better patience.
Yeah, I also think there's there's a certain level of care that I think my brother would struggle doing.
Yeah, 100%.
And is that what my mum would have wanted as well?
No.
So, you know, we're at the stage where she doesn't know us now. She knows my dad because they were together from the age of 15.
It's them glimmers, though, that do my head in. Because my dad didn't know where I was, but then I'd have a sensible conversation with him for 5 minutes, and then he'd disappear again. It fucking did me in. I couldn't go see him.
That's I said to my dad, like, the day that she doesn't really know, because my biggest fear, Ryan, was, and continues to be, like, I don't want her to have one of those moments of clarity when she's in a home.
Yeah. But you've got to remember that...
No, I know. And she'll go back into it anyway, you know. And
you've got to remember that it's the best place sometimes. And that was a tough point for me and mum, honestly. But mum went to see him every day. Yeah. And then I did when I could. Yeah. It was hard the way through COVID. And then I was working away all the time, and it was just...
Yeah.
But I went and seen him the week before, and then I went to Wim Hof's house, and then I got the phone call on the Sunday while I was there, and he died. But yeah.
Sorry.
Fucking hell. Hold it together. Got to get this podcast finished. Right, fuck that off for now.
To us, it's personal.
At the end of the day, Ruth, there'll be lots of professionals like me and you who have extremely responsible, devout jobs and have kids and have parents, and they need to hear it sometimes, that it's okay not to cope and try and find your way through.
And we're people.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be branded as COO of Home Instead. I want to be people to know me as me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how I want my team to see me. You know, I've got vulnerabilities.
Yeah, you're a human being like me, and you're all the same.
And I'll make mistakes, Ryan. Do you know what I mean? I'll say to them, I think I've made a mistake there, or I've dropped the ball there, and I think that gives them the confidence that it's okay to make mistakes.
Well, you only learn from your mistakes. Yeah. I literally was crying in the car yesterday morning in Nottingham because I dropped the ball big time with Gemma. And I just said I fucked up massively here, by the way. And she was in fucking bits as well because I'd said something to her that I didn't. And it's just the way it is, isn't it? But we worked our way through. We talked about it, and you
build on it.
Yeah, you build on it.
Yeah.
sometimes dislike social media for that, because I think you only do the highlight reels, which you always would do.
Yeah,
But just now and again, I put a negative post out there just to keep it real, because at the end of the day, we are all human and we're all trying to find a way through. And as long as I feel like the people that are working with me are on the same journey, got the same ethics, the same morals, values, then I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
As long as if you have the spinal cord going up, sometimes you fuck off over here, you've got to come back to it. As long as I know that we'll come back to it, I'm cool with it. I'm going to scrape a little bit on the childcare thing, because it's something that I've brought up a couple of times, and I found it good and bad sometimes. I feel like having a business or being a leader in a business and travelling and doing all these things, and them knowing what you're doing is inspiring for them for the future. How do you cope with it? And how does Justin cope with it? Because I guess he travels as well.
He does. I guess Justin's more fortunate that a lot of his work is from home. Yeah. I guess there's give and take, isn't there? Like, I think one of the things I struggle mostly with is, like, I don't do the school run that often.
Yeah.
And then, there's mums there that are there, and, I know that they all go out together because they've made friends and their kids are out together, and I'm like doing 8 till 6 or whatever the hours are, and she's in after school club as well, and so but then she loves it, and therefore I say, are you happy? And I know I can provide for her, and I can do all this stuff. So I think I'll tell you a little story. I went to a conference once that WorkBuzz had, and there was a guy doing a presentation there about work-life balance, and I took this. I was with a colleague, and we both working mums, and he talked about blowing the key. Have you heard about this?
No.
So it's, how do you make sure that the time that you've got at home is present? Because one of the things I really struggle with, Ryan, is like switching off at home. So I'll be cooking tea, or I'll be watching TV with my little girl, or playing Lego, which she loves, and I'll be thinking about work. Yeah. And I'll be like, mentally slapping myself around the face going, I need to be present with Soph. Yeah. So he gave, like, it's a bit like a habit that you have to get into, and I should remember to do it more. He's like, leave your bags in the car, don't take your bags in. Because when they greet you and you'll see them for the first time, you don't want to be having to messing around, be distracted, putting your bags down. As a mental action, blow the key and put your key in the door and walk through the door. And that mental action of blowing the key means that you're switching off from work Ruth to mum Ruth. Yeah. And I constantly tell myself, I slip all the time. It's like not easy, but I constantly tell myself, I need to cherish this. I've just said to you, like, she lost a front tooth last night. She's nearly 6, and I don't know where the last 6 years have gone. So mentally minded that I need to be present with Soph and present with my family. When my mum and dad are there, I need to be present because I'm not doing jobs, but that's hard to keep that going. So, answer to your question about childcare, I feel guilty, but I then try and make the most of the time.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same.
But I'm with them.
And the power of technology helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. See, I'll tell you how I cope with it. Is I remember my mum and dad doing exactly the same thing. Yeah. So my mum and dad exactly the same. My dad travelled all the day. My dad was one of the first people that brought car sales training to the UK. Wow. So he, the 10-step sales process that everyone knows, my dad kind of invented that. Wow. And some pretty cool stories about my dad getting in national press he left a caravan on a motorway roundabout, but he got national press from it, and they sold fucking shitloads of caravans from it. So there's some cool stories. Yeah. It's almost like social media before social media. Yeah. When they threw car keys up on the roof of garages so you couldn't drive off, my dad did that. He invented it. So I've lost track where I was going to go now. You're going to talk about being a dad. Yeah. So my dad was working away a lot, and I've got a really adult, very close relationship with my mum. She knows everything. She's ace, by the way. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I think everyone's mums are ace, aren't they? But I've got extremely, just because we've been through a lot of shit together. We ran a business together. Yeah. We ran a business together for 15 years, and we both lost Dad and Tom, and you get close. Yeah. And I've talked to him about it in detail. We both got really upset about Dad working away a lot and Mum having both our kids, and she worked for Bass Brew, doing the pubs, and she was the same. She was like, you just had to sort of take it on the chin that one of us have to go and do that because your dad got paid an awful lot of money. And it really helped us for our lifestyle, and we had a really nice house, and we went on amazing holidays. Like, I've been to America 12 times by the time I was 10 or something.
Wow.
Like, like I've done, you know what I mean? I've done it all. Some people have never been. So it's I feel like, but from my perspective, looking at it now, I find it inspiring. I don't remember not seeing my dad.
Yeah.
I don't remember thinking my dad wasn't there and my mum wasn't there.
Yeah.
I remember being a very happy childhood.
Yeah.
I remember being in the warehouses that they had the sportswear franchise. I remember being in, they had a food one called Synergy. It was a bit like Slim Fast. And I remember I remember
helping out.
Yeah.
So
I remember
it was a true family business.
Yeah, I remember all that, and there was 3 families that had that.
Yeah.
And I remember like messing around with the girls and climbing up all the stock and stuff like that. So I feel like sometimes you can be as hard as you want on yourself, or you can be as positive as you want on yourself. And I think sometimes there's elements where I'm sat having a wee on a toilet in a hotel thinking, fucking hell, today has been a long day and I've not even said bye. Yeah. And sometimes I think I've just got back and I've got paid a lot of money and we're going to go and book on a holiday. Yeah. So it's the balance. It's a balance, isn't it?
I think one of the things, weirdly, I had a similar conversation with Justin last night over dinner, because I was like, am I a good mum? You know what I mean? And I was asking him, and he's like, you're the best mum. He's like, whenever you're with her, you make her feel loved. Yeah. And I do. I put her to bed, and I say to her, there was a film once that I was like, I'm going to do that with Soph. And I say to her, what 3 things are you, Soph? And she'll say, beautiful, brave and kind. And we do that every night. No. And I give her a hug and we snuggle. And so I just, as long as I'm making the most of the time when I'm with her, and we're doing fun things, and, like randomly, this is Mum Ruth, we were playing some sort of wizard game last night, and I had a spoon, and I was like, that was my wand. And, I try and make it fun when I'm around, so she remembers those good times. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't want her to remember that Mum was always at work, or Mum was at her desk. I want her to remember the fact that I had a piece of Lego and a spoon playing wizard games.
I feel like I'm sure we can catastrophize everything, can't we?
Yeah.
I'm sure she will do.
But you know what? I think because we think like that probably makes us better parents.
Yeah. I think just being aware makes us good parents.
Absolutely.
That's how I look at it. If I'm aware, then I'm trying. And that's all I can ask.
Yeah. I reckon that's in life though, isn't it? Whether that's with franchisees and the way you look after them, support them, with your team. I think it's just being aware about how they may be feeling, or the impact. Your behaviour,
what you're doing for them. There's loads of times, I don't know, I'm going to admit this now, that I've dismissed people, and then I go back and go, no, I'm going to go and make the effort. Fuck off, turn around, go back and go make the effort. And that's that bit of work, I think, makes you a better person or a better leader than that, or a better parent or whatever.
One of the things we have at home instead, which I took it into my home life, is like just constantly trying to improve in 5 and 10% all the time, because that will add up. Trying to be a better mum, trying to be a better manager, being authentic with it, trying to be a better franchisor. It's just,
it can go on and on.
And the other part of it is like, I think I drive my team crazy with this. Is like I'm constantly trying to learn. Yeah. So when we're in the place where resales are a big part of our business now. Yeah. Every resale that I do, I go and try and visit them and understand what went well, what didn't go well. Yeah. I'll take that back to the team, and they'll be like, God's sake, Ruth. They're like, this, and this. We're going to change this. Remember this. But I'm saying we're just learning. This is a new part of our franchisor journey. We need to learn from it to make sure it's right and fair for all parties.
Yeah. It's open-minded approach, isn't it? I'm the same. I try my hardest to just be open-minded to stuff and criticism. Yeah. Even though it's really hard to hit sometimes, but I feel like being vulnerable, open-minded helps you push forward, and that bit of work. I've never done a resale yet. We've sold franchises internally, but I think we might actually end up doing one now. Yeah. Never done it. It'd be interesting to see what happens, but I'm just going to speak to as many people as possible about it.
One of the things, and that I don't think we do very well in the industry, is plot the franchisor journey out. Yeah. So we're, 2005, I joined end of 2009, but in 2010, and we've got most of the country covered now. So people that I recruited, or we recruited, I'm not going to take all the glory. I think we recruited half the network in the space of 3 years. So from 2010 to 2013, I think we brought on about 100 owners.
Wow, you are a monster.
Well, don't forget then, don't forget there's Trevor. Yeah. Don't forget we were really unique in the market, and continue to be. I believe we continue to be so, and it's our people that make us unique. Yeah. I had the experience of what I'd learned here, and I took all of that, and I was like, this is what we're going to do here. And so we had like, have you seen the video of the Lone Nut?
No.
Right, it's a TED talk, And it's about Trevor was the lone nut, I was the follower, and then we created a movement basically, and that's exactly what Home Instead was. We had Trevor, there was the lone nut, I was the follower, and all of a sudden we had all these people who just wanted to provide amazing care in the UK. But fast forward 10 years, they're coming to retirement or wanted to exit or realise their investment. So part of our franchisor journey is, what does that look like as a mature franchisor?
I suppose you don't really, I mean, it's hindsight, isn't it? It's always a beautiful thing, isn't it? Now you've got a cluster of them, you're probably really thinking about it now, but at the beginning you probably weren't really thinking about it. But again, it's only learn from your...
So up until about 3 years ago, I think we'd managed about 10, maybe 15 resales. Yeah. Since then, we've done about 40.
Wow.
And so, it's just, I'm proud of that. It's a natural evolution.
It's mega, isn't it?
Our £1 million, £2 million plus deals, some of these. And so it's just a very different world. Making sure that the buyer is getting the right deal and it's not over leveraged, making sure the seller exits really well and gets what they want, and everybody being happy in between. So it's one of the experiences and learnings I keep telling to the team is every resale is so different. When you're doing a new owner in a new territory, it's every resale is different, and so it's like trying to work our way. And we've not got it 100% right yet, but we're still learning that.
I bet that's exciting for you, though, isn't it?
I love it.
Yeah, I bet that's exciting for you because you kind of not mastered what your craft is, but you got to the peak.
And do you know what? I always do like the random stuff. So rather than using an external broker, we've set up our own broker.
Oh, nice.
And we've got it's called High Resales. It's a kind of separate to Home Instead to put that line in to avoid that conflict of interest, but it makes sure that the people are getting
the process is done.
The ideal is the Home Instead experience,
Yeah, they get dealt with properly.
Yeah, it's really, really difficult.
Do you get the autonomy to do that?
I have to pitch it, and you've got to get investment and stuff. And again, that was just one of those things in life where the person that runs it for me had met who'd worked as a broker, and I was like, I like you, but I don't like your business. Do you want to come and do this with me? So,
how did you pitch that, Ruth? Can you remember how you did that?
So the team would say that I kind of constantly go on about something over and over again until they're beaten down. And then they're like, we are doing this. So no, I actually, in a strategy day, I stood up and basically said, this is what I think, this is the reason why, this is what I think it'll cost. And but I made sure I got the agreement on the day rather than, because I had somebody lined up and we knew exactly what we wanted it to be and look like. And I'm still learning with all of that. Never ran and done anything like that before. It's now looked after by me, which is ace because it's a development for her as well. So it's been a good experience, and it's just solely focused on Home Instead. A broker who I won't mention said to me, the problem is, Ruth, your expectations are too high. So I was like, fair enough, I'll go and try and do it myself. Yeah.
Amazing stuff. I can't believe you've got that many franchisees, but I guess it's just then that we're going through this. We went through the rebrand, and then we went into COVID, and then we're into this. But I think we're going to do exactly the same. A little burst now of franchises, and we're sorting out the CRM system, and it's the same thing, isn't it? I'm sure you've sorted out CRM systems and done all sorts of stuff.
Trying to. We're going through another one at the minute. Another system update at the moment, and that's managing change is really difficult in a network.
With your team, have you found it hard to push that leadership throughout your team, like a coach? Can you think of anything you've been through that?
So there's the training stuff, and we have our own training programs. I think one of the things that's been quite interesting for Home Instead is in the UK is we were owned by Trevor. He sold in 2016, so I then worked. So there's Martin, the CEO, who then reported into the original founders of Home Instead globally. So globally, I think we're £1 billion, £1.6 billion turnover business, 1,500 franchisees. Wow. So it's big. Yeah, and so the transition from going to that was one thing, and then obviously we've been acquired again. So it's how do you keep the culture alive, and culture changes. So what does that look like as we've gone from kind of a smaller business to a medium-sized business, and now part of this huge business, and how do you keep people coming on that journey with you?
And now have you got an appetite for change? Are you cool with stuff like that?
Yes, I think the team would probably say Ruth doesn't do the change blindly.
Curious.
Yeah. So we have like voices around the table. Like I've always been the franchisee voice around the table.
I can imagine.
So trying to ensure that it's the right thing for the franchise network as well as the right thing for the franchise or the business has always been the thing that conflicts, isn't it? You know, it's the rub with change. So, so I like change. I embrace change, providing it's the right change and it's right for everybody.
Yeah, that's cool. What's your dish profile?
So it's high I, high D, low C, low S. Yeah. So we use Thomas. Do you use Thomas International?
You told me about that.
All right. So I'm a flick down. So I'm a bit of a maverick. Detail I'm rubbish at, which the team will probably laugh when they hear me say this. So I like just bigger picture and stuff, and I'll come up with an idea, and I'm like, right, guys, I don't know how to do this, or I've never admitted this to the team, but I do get a little bit bored of stuff once I've created the beginning of it, and then I move on, and they're like, well, we've just been like started doing this, so I need a team around me that can either stop me from doing that or slow me down a little bit. You know, people say I'm a bit too fast for them as well, so I constantly have to think, right, I'm not going to give you anything else to do, and they just laugh at me.
I'm hiding. The one thing I've got a coach at the minute. You'll know it, but I won't tell you on it yet. But and one of the things I'm working on massively is my communication with the team, because I come up with ideas.
You're high I though, I guess, as well.
I don't know. I think I'm just high D. I think that's it. I don't know.
No, you're definitely people. High I is like people and relationships.
I need to go and check it. I've just done some other mad thing. What's it called? What was it called? Body mapping.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, that's another cool one as well. But yeah, that was an interesting one. I've just done this self-discovery thing, but I think it's because I know that the business is going to get bigger and there's more people involved and there's more arms and legs. I've got to figure it out myself. You've got to do the self-work, haven't you?
Absolutely.
Every time you move forward, you've got to do the self-work. I think a lot of it can be done on a run. Some of it can be done behind closed doors at conversations with people you know you can trust. And then it's just been open.
Like you say, I've had a coach 2014. I had my coach.
Yeah.
And she's walked my life journey with me as well. Yeah.
Have you still got a coach now? Then?
Still got a coach now. I don't speak to her as much, but yeah. So I know at the end of the phone that she'd be there, but I mentioned my tribe before, so I use them as well.
Who is your tribe?
So I've got a couple of franchise owners in there. Right. Got a couple of my team. Yeah. My sister-in-law, best mate.
Yeah. What's your best mate do?
She's a clinical psychologist for Merseycare.
Wow, that's a good one, isn't it?
Learning disabilities and autism. Yeah, she's also super cool.
Yeah, that's a great one to have as a person. I'm not losing my mind now. Well,
is this normal?
We could set some tablets up.
Yeah,
I love that. Okay, I think we've covered everything. I feel like I've got to know you so much better, and you're exactly who I thought you would be.
Really?
Yeah, I'm really happy that you are, because I just didn't think you could be in your role doing what you do without being super empathetic, and you are.
Thanks, pal. That means a lot.
Yeah, I didn't think you just can't be and do your job and demand the responsibility you've got without being like that. I just don't think people understand that. I just don't think it's talked about enough.
Do you know, one of the things I say to the team a lot, like, you can be kind and be a good leader. Yeah. You don't have to be mean with it, you know.
I just hate people who do that by an iron fist.
Yeah.
I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
It's horrible. I'm so glad you've come on the podcast.
Yeah.
I was so nervous.
I don't know why. I'm so sorry. Took me ages to get here, but
you're busy, aren't you? There's a few people like that. Yeah. The people we've got, I think there's 12 people booked on, isn't there? And there's some mega people booked on. It's just interesting to hear people's stories, and what's stemming from them all is the ones that are incredibly empathetic and sympathetic are the ones that are just leading the way.
Yeah.
And it just drives me to just go and write posts about empathy and sympathy, because that's all that really matters.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry I pried a little bit on some personal stuff, but it's important. Yeah. That's it. I'm going to wrap it up.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks for coming on. Cheers.
Cheers.